Um, should you have anyone who is finding it hard to join us? Such person can join us live on YouTube. I'll be sharing the link on the chat now for everyone who can join us live on YouTube. We are almost there. All right, it's time for us to start. My name is Waliu Adegoke, and today is another wonderful moment. For everyone who has joined us, thank you for joining us because you've taken our time. We spent 15 minutes now. So let's just go straight to the discussion of today. So today we'll be discussing straightforward about confined space entry. And one thing I've observed about the subject matter of confined space is that we have always, or most times, we have limited it to our homes. And sorry, we have limited it to the workplace, I mean. And this has led to some kind of lackadaisical approach about confined space in our various homes. Please let us meet while we join this section. These are the issues. Mr. Abanom, please, I made you co-host to help us to address that. Please, thank you as you help us do that. God bless you, Mr. Abanom. So anyone who is disturbing us, you can help us to unmute the person. So like I was saying, we have had this concept about confined space in such a way that we believe that it's only limited to the workplace when you want to work inside a vessel, inside a tank, inside a silo, underground. That's where you have confined space. Meanwhile, in our various homes, there are aspects of confined space, and that's why our enlightenment sections, we try as much as possible to expand the understanding of many subjects beyond just the workplace. In our various homes, who can tell us in the chat section, who can give us example of areas in our homes that can be described as a confined space when we are in it? Who can give us example in the chat room of those aspects in our homes themselves that we can describe as being an example of confined space? Anyone who can come up with something, let us hear from us. We are all together in this discussion. Yes, very correct. Our sockaway is a confined space. Many people will invite going into the ceiling, thank you, our water tanks, septic tanks, because of the definition of what we categorize confined space as. So this, like I said, we have so many of our guys. So this is more like a reminder section. This is more like a refresher session. If you can understand to the extent of our homes how safety applies, it means that we are at the top of our games. Wells, thank you. Wells, septic tank, ceiling, going to the ceiling. Yes, it's a confined space. I was telling one of us yesterday, I think was it on Thursday or so, or Monday, that ceiling can be described as confined space. Many people go to the ceiling to go and do some works, and because of the factors that determines what confined space has, we call them confined space, but they think that it's just normal thing. So it means that if someone should come to your house to do a particular work, and we are all guilty of this. Maybe someone wants to come and do some, yes, pantry, drainages, silos, water tank. Correct. All these are confined space. Maybe someone comes to do some electrical works and has to go inside the ceiling. We just allow the person to go, and we don't even try to address the risk that can be involved. We are all guilty. How many of us actually put core safety in place when we are at home? Some will go to the soakaway, some will go into the well. At home, the basement, to go and do some activities and without safety measure. So this is where it starts from. All these are the categorization of confined space. So today we will be refreshing our memory, like I've called it. That's the term I've used. We'll be refreshing our memory on the subject matter of confined space. We have shared this Zoom link in case someone is unable to join us here. The person can actually join us via Zoom, and I think it will be is to make sure that everyone is carried along. They can watch via YouTube in case those person can meet up with our Zoom. There can be issues with logging in and the likes. So, like we said, confined space. You know, the reason why we have it as confined space entry. You know, we talk about hazard and risk, and that is where I would like to start from. A hazard can be somewhere resting without anyone getting exposed to it or any equipment getting exposed to it. And the hazard will be resting there, just like a knife on the table, just like a, uh, a hot water on the table. It is there, such as a four-story building, the top of the fourth-story building. It is just there, is an hazard. Electrical hazard, the electric cable is, the electric current is flowing through the cable. The hazard is just there, relaxing on its own. It becomes a risk when there is proximity. When there's proximity between that particular hazard and either a person, an equipment, or the environment, depending on what that particular hazard is. So let's say, for example, there's a knife on the table. When there's a knife on the table and a child picks that knife, there's a risk of the child getting caught. So most times people don't actually have a straight definition of hazard and risk. Why are we starting this on this note? Confined space is an hazard on its own, it's there. When it becomes an issue is when there is an entry. Nobody will tell you to monitor the oxygen level when nobody is going there, unless they want to keep some things there that could affect the condition of that particular that would affect the condition of that particular subject that will be there. Even if it's a product, that's how we have product safety. If you want to keep a particular product, maybe a pharmaceutical product, or want to keep a substance that is being consumed, food, whatever it is, whatever material, and you are going to keep it in a confined space, there must be some conditions that confined space will be subjected to ensure that that product remain in its right quality. no matter what the product is. So you will see them, they might put the confined space into, they might put it in a cool weather condition because of the need of that product. But once the confined space is there, you can see that confined space is not only limited to someone entering. When it comes to warehousing, for example, where they need to keep products in one place and the other, they'll have to subject, apart from the people that will go inside, maybe they will take the forklift to offload or to unload or to arrange the product in the confined space or whatever it is. Apart from that factor, the product themselves that are present or that will be present in that space need to be factored into that particular confined space. I hope I'm communicating. So confined space is not only limited, even though generally we talk about confined space, we're talking about someone entering it. But what if no one is entering it, but there are other things that will be entering that particular space? We also need to talk about it regarding the framework of confined space. Please let me know if I'm communicating. If I'm communicating, please kindly type yes in the chat room. If I'm communicating, please kindly type yes in the chat room. So today we'll be talking about confined space generally. All right, thank you. Thank you for your responses. We're talking about confined space generally. This is about me. So now, why do we talk about confined space? Why do we always make mention of the term confined space? Because of time, we might not start asking too much questions, asking people to explain the life because of time. But let us just look at what we have. You know, generally in Nigeria, we are having issues with data. You know, and personally, I believe that apart from the Bureau of Statistics, there are different parastatals that should compile data and report it to Bureau of Statistics. You know, there are so many financial data in the oil and gas that Bureau of Statistics are handling. For example, the Ministry of Labor and Productivity, Department of Health and Safety, what's it called? The Inspectorate Department, issues of accident rate and the likes should be compiled there. I believe, I think it should start from there through other means, which is not the topic of today, which is definitely not the topic of today. And we hope that in the upcoming Eastern election, we'll be able to have leaders that can actually be able to think in that regard on the importance of having data and also creating avenues, means, processes that will not hurt safety officers in reporting accident or report workers in reporting accident. Yeah, it said it's an issue of sub-Saharan African. I think Mr. Afua from Ghana. You're welcome, sir. It's not Nigeria alone. Yes, it's not Nigeria alone. You know, most times we always, the reason why we most times want to speak to ourselves is so that we realize that we can actually do better. But you're very correct. It's not only limited to Nigeria. So now let's look at where they have statistics, because it's the reflection of what we have there. I remember when we were young, you know, when we were smaller, we used to have stories of people dying inside well when they go inside the well to go and do some work. Unlike now that we have advanced technologies where they can do drilling, you know, then it was borehole. You know, they have to manually dig to the water bed. So we have stories of people dying inside, you know, different stories of spiritual stuff, blah, blah, so many things happening. But we don't have real data for them. We don't have real data to defend this. If you are not having death inside mine, thank you, Mr. Olumide Balogun, inside the mining, when they are doing mining activity, you know, when they have all those underground mining, and most times it happens due to lack of implementation of policies or even policies in the mining process. There should be a process for mining. There should be dimension for mining and how you go about mining. Sometimes people just mine randomly. They're already digging an underground somewhere and the top is still there. Before you know it, someone is underground and the person gets stuck inside it. So my death inside mine is very correct. Mr. Timothy, please, someone should chat Mr. Timothy to tell him to join, to connect to audio. I think that is the issue that we'll be having. So let's look at USA. They said confined space is the leading cause of occasional fatality in the USA. which tells you when you talk about data, data are a representation of what would I call it? A representation of realities of sampling that has been done. Most times it can be sampling, it can be surveys, and it can be through what we call what's this thing called? Sensors, through any means. They bring data together through research and use either random sampling method or statistical sampling or qualitative sampling, whatever method is being used in other questionnaires, reporting of incidents. Thank you. All these are ways that they get these results. So they get these results from reports that have been sent, and it's a reflection of the reality. Even though we always agree that most times these things are usually underreported, but it's still the case that we have. So confined space entry is a leading cause of optional fatalities, not only in Nigeria, not only in USA, but every part of the world. Because most times we can't shy away from it. There are some hazards that will be present that you don't have a choice. You have to have a way to control it because they are there. A very obvious example is electricity. We need to have electricity in our homes. If they are there, they must be present. Confined space is also one of them. We just need to live with it. You can't open your pit and say you want your faces to be open to everywhere. It will go somewhere. That becomes a confined space. Your ceiling is there, it becomes a confined space. Your tanker is there, it becomes a confined space. So it's a leading cause of occasional fatalities in the USA, and which tells you why we need to take good care of it. Standard covers 240,000 workplaces and 12.2 million workers. Workers make 4.8 million entry per year, meaning that in a year, the number of times that we enter, I'm very sure it will have increased by now, because do you know why? Some things will lead to some other things. For example, there is a increase in technological advancement. In a country like Nigeria, when we are in the developing stage, there is high level of industrialization, constructions activities, so many things going on. And these are factors that lead to having confined space. So imagine having this kind of data. It tells you how they trace all their activities. Workers make 4.8 million entries per year. And for every 4.8 million entries, there is what? There are issues of confined space accident happening. And standard may prevent 85% of fatalities and nearly 11,000 injuries. Meaning that if you follow a particular process for confined space entry and implement it properly, we can be able to save the world from 85% of fatalities. This statistics tells you something. It tells you the importance of we that we are here today. It tells us the importance of the job that you do as a city professional. Imagine saving 85% of fatalities that happens as a result of confined space. You are saving the world. When you save one person, it's more like you have saved the world. But you can't give what you do not have. You can't implement what you don't know. And that is why there's a need for learning, relearning, and refreshing of our memories concerning all these topics of confined space. We are getting there. We are getting there. Please. So what do we call a confined space? What are those three things that defines a confined space summarily? There are three things that defines a confined space. Three. There are three things that defines a confined space. Number one, I said limited means of access. Limited means of access. It means that not everyone, it's not a free route, not like your normal staircase or just like you entering your door. Before you can be able to access that particular space, you will know that there's a limitation. most times it is bodily entered, one person at a time. One person at a time. One person at a time. It can only be bodily entered and not designed for continuous occupancy. It's not somewhere that you sit down like your office, that you start gisting and talking. You have to go there, walk, and get out. So whenever you find yourself in this kind of work activity that has these three factors, know that you are already carrying out a confined space activity. When if you want to enter, there's a way that you should enter. It's not a way that you just walk in. There's a process that you must use to enter it. Limited means of egress and entry can be bodily entered. It's not a place, when you say that egress, it means that it's not a place that even when you enter it, you can just come out anyhow you like. You must go through a particular path before you can come out. And the entrance is only a body that can enter through it and not designed for continuous occupancy. All these other ones that we are defining now are what we call symptoms. But these three things that I mentioned are the main three factors that define the confined space. Now, when you say specific hazard, there can be specific hazard in any other condition. There can be specific hazard in work at height, working on the roof. There can be specific hazard. Working in a particular process unit, there can be specific hazard. Air quality is poor. It's not only in confined space that air quality can be poor. When you are in a particular unit that they store some chemicals that are there, and maybe like nitrogen that is used for, maybe like ammonia that is used for cooling, maybe for the cooling unit, air quality can be poor there. Maybe what they produce, this does, maybe let's say a cement factory, air quality can be poor there. Doesn't necessarily mean it is a confined space. But what you will see that is specific to a confined space are these three factors. Other ones can still come in. All these other ones are definitely present as a result of these three things. The poor air quality, you will find it there because of the nature of the confined space. But air quality can be found, you can find it somewhere else too. So the main three definition is number one, limited means of egress, entry and egress. There can be bodily entered. It's only a particular body that can enter at a time. Can be bodily entered and not designed for continuous occupancy. It's not designed for everybody to start entering and entering, then you just be sitting down and start gisting. You go there, you do your work for a particular time and you leave. What do we now call a permit to work confined space? We have given a general definition of a confined space. Confined space entry. Now we are now talking about the permit required confined space. Contain or has potential to contain hazardous atmosphere. Generally, when you have a confined space, due to the limited amount of oxygen that is present, is already an hazardous atmosphere. Number two, contains the potential for engulfment, meaning that whatever it's inside that confined space can engulf and consume someone. Such like when we are growing up in some rural areas, we hear stories of little children falling inside pits, inside soakaways, due to poor covering of the soakaway, and that led to the children falling inside, and they get engulfed with whatever is inside the soakaway. And with that, it leads to their death. In the workplace too, in many industries, like industries that, let's say they are into grains, They produce grains and they have silos where they store these grains. And someone enters there to go and work and the grains are there. The person can get engulfed and get covered with the grains. What of sand? At least we've seen videos of people getting engulfed in sand, which is not necessarily confined space. It's even an open space and they just walk in, and they get engulfed and they get covered with the sand. It can happen, especially in confined space. The internal configuration that can trap or asphyxiate entrant. It can entrap someone and cause asphyxiation or any other serious safety and health hazard. When you have this combined with the other one that we have mentioned, then generally confined space on a normal day requires permit to work, whether they contain hazard or not, whether they contain hazardous atmosphere or not, because most times they contain hazardous atmosphere. Especially there is most times limitation of oxygen, limited amount of oxygen, which you need to control. Definitely, you agree that all confined space is required to be a permit is required to be done with a permit to work. Typical permit required spaces. For example, we talk about chemical storage tanks that they store chemicals. Maybe they've taken out the chemicals, but there's no way you can take out chemicals. There will still be molecules, atomic amount, molecular amount of these chemicals suspended. That's how you still perceive them. So you still smell them. And depending on the kind of chemical, regardless of the chemical itself, because this chemical exposure to them within a confined space where there's limited amount of oxygen can cause serious health issue. So chemical storage tanks, whether empty or full, waste or storage pits, grain bins, storage bins where they store various grains and the likes, underground tunnels. Underground tunnels, you see all those are our drainage system by the roadside. Apart from the main tunnel, I'm even talking about those simple ones now. Those simple ones that are by the roadside where they will cover it, then they will only have a small space where they can bring out maybe the means of entry, the iron that they used to cover it, and someone goes to do cleaning. You see many men in Nigeria here, for example, we have Loma. I think in Ghana, there is this, what's the name? I've forgotten their name. I was engaged with them some time ago. They're into waste management. Where I want to point out is, sometimes where this Loma, for example, they are cleaning these drainages. You see the person that is doing the work, the labor guy that is doing the work, will just enter that space to do cleaning without a formal process, without a formal procedure, and to ensure that the person is safe inside that confined space. Thank you, Zoom Lion. God bless you, Zoom Lion. Yes, Zoom Lion. We did some trainings together then. Zoom Lion Ghana. Thank you for that reminder. Man O, thank you. I'm talking about the Man O. They go there to do these activities without following formal procedure. Underground tunnels. All this requires a permit to work. And why? Because of the factors that we have mentioned the other time. Who can remind us of the 3 factors that we mentioned the other time? Let's drop it in the chat room. I mentioned 3 factors that makes a confined space to be called a confined space. 3 major factors. Who can remind us? The first one is what? Limited means of egress. Yes, correct. The second one can be bodily entered. Beautiful. The third one not designated for continuous occupancy. Beautiful. It means that we are following this class. Vessel silos. Vessel silos Correct, correct. Everyone, please, you are doing wonderfully well. Then pump stations, all these are definitions of confined space. Now, what are the hazards that are there in government? It means that someone can get engulfed in a confined space. What we are doing today is basics. We might not go into the technical parts of the tripod, how to the rescue procedure. We'll just talk about the basics today. Maybe some other time we can go extra mile to discuss about how the rope should be tied, the way the means of tying the rope, the tying procedure, the kind of rope to use. All these are technical trainings that maybe some other time we can go into it. But let's talk about the basics today. The engulfment, number one, very important. People can get engulfed, especially when it is filled up or when it is filled to a particular length. And there's no way they can remove every substance that is there because of the condition. You know, before you carry out a task, you must understand the reality of the task and the kind of job that you want to do. And you know the kind of risk that you are facing so that you know the kind of control that you want to put in place. And safety is not only isolated to the person. Let's say, for example, there are grains inside. And that is why we'll talk about, maybe some other time we'll be talking about product safety, because most times we miss this part of product safety, though it is close to quality, but also an aspect of safety. Some people maybe inside the grain, inside the, what's it called? The grain silo. Yeah, the grain is not explosive. Then they can, the grain is not that much, like it's not, it can't engulf the person, maybe just the leg, maybe just the feet. And they say, okay, go and do your work. There's still a little amount of grain there. That grain, are you still going to use it for your process, for your production process, or you're going to discard them? This is just by the side. You're talking about engulfment, you're talking about presence of things that could take in someone. And what can take in someone that is present there is being used either as the raw material or the final product, or the byproduct along the way to get to the final product. What happens to this product itself? Then oxygen deficiency. When there is the right amount of oxygen that should be present. We'll talk about it later. 19.5 to 23.5. I think it's still in the next slide or so. Oxygen deficiency is also an hazard because most times there is limited amount of oxygen, and sometimes also there can be excess oxygen. Excess oxygen can come in as a result of when maybe there is limited amount of oxygen and they want to introduce artificial oxygen in order to help in the confined space work, and there's as a result of that there is excess oxygen, and there can be oxidation depending on what is happening inside that tank, what that tank is being used for. There can be oxidation or release of oxygen in one way or the other due to one reaction, and the oxygen level can go higher than the required 23%, and person can get suffocated with too much oxygen. You know, it's funny, but it can happen. So there's oxygen range that must be present. If it's too small, there's a problem. If it's too high, there's a problem, just like sugar level. When sugar level is too high, there's a problem. When sugar level is too low, it's also dangerous. Same thing applies to oxygen. Oxygen enrichment, 23.5 or higher, you can see. Flammable gas or vapors. When that particular confined space, what is being stored there is a flammable gas or a flammable liquid or something that can combust, then there is a problem. Not only about the person getting not enough oxygen or getting engulfed, but there can be fire, there can be secondary accidents. There can be, in fact, there can be fall from height, which is secondary. Because imagine someone working in a confined space and is working at tight inside the confined space. Because they can work at tight in a confined space. Imagine a silo of, let's say, 100 meters, and someone is working at a height of 50 meters. Or let's say a silo, let's say a silo of 30 meters, and someone is working at a height of 20 meters, maybe some welding operation. Apart from the fact that we have considered this primary hazard, someone can fall because of you have introduced new hazard aside from working in the confined space. Working at tight is an additional hazard. Working with an electrical equipment is an additional hazard. So when working in a confined space, don't be limited to just, because most times we get limited to, oh, confined space, oxygen, and government, and we forget other aspects like the work attire that is taken off. The same way you focus on work attire while working when there's no confined space on a normal working platform. The same way you look at the confined space, you look at the work attire when inside the confined space, it's still the same. In fact, it's even more dangerous because on a normal working platform outside, when the speed of rescue is very swift, but for confined space, the speed of rescue is slow because of the nature of that activity. Then combustible dust, toxic substances, and IDLH, immediately dangerous to life or health. These are atmospheres that are immediately dangerous to life based on the presence of those chemicals that can be present during the confined space. Then physical hazards. Now, why should you do atmospheric testing? Because you want to know the amount of oxygen that is there, the amount of nitrogen that is there, and other substances too. Maintain gas, whatever combustible or flammable substance can be there. You want to know the amount. That's why you have gas testers. So it's a requirement that if you want to do a confined space, you have your gas tester. I remember when we're doing our ISO course, somebody asked about why is the standard talking about calibration equipment? It's not quality now. And we tell them that there are some equipment that you make use of. There are some equipment that you make use of, and this equipment are related to health and safety. And if they are not properly calibrated, it can give wrong reason. Imagine going to enter a confined space and the gas tester was not properly calibrated and is giving a plus 1.0 reading. So let's say that maybe the oxygen level is actually 19.0. And because of it has a plus 1.0 reading, it gives 2.0, and they feel that the oxygen level is okay. Meanwhile, the oxygen level is not okay. What happens? They have allowed a risk because of wrong calibration. That is why the standards still talk about calibration. That's why in audit, they will still talk about what equipment do you make use of that requires calibration, in which that calibration, if it is done wrongly, can lead to health and safety issues. Your valves, your pressure gauge, your thermometers, your temperature reading equipment, whatever you use that could affect that. If that calibration that requires continuous monitoring, that if there's a wrong calibration and there's a wrong reading, it can lead to dangerous issues. Remember what happened in this explosion that happened in this toxic gas release that happened in India? Who can remind us? Let me see who can remind us. This gas release that happened in India so many years ago. Not Piper Alpha. I hope someone gets it. Thank you. Bhopal, Bhopal, Bhopal disaster. One of the major issues was that the calibration, the pressure gauge were not working well. They were giving wrong reason, and they were relaxed until the high disaster came. Then the reading went from 0 to the highest level. That's when they knew that there was an overpressure. So that is why calibration is very important. If your work requires confined space and you have equipment, don't just in the clause, there's a requirement for how your calibration equipment should be kept, should be placed, should be positioned, and how it should be in good condition at all times and regularly calibrated. Then the combustibility and flammability. Then what else? Toxic atmosphere. Want to know what are those other toxic substances that are present. Some gas testers will only test for 3, some will test for 5, depending on the gas tester that you use. You know what can be present in the confined space. The entrance must be allowed to observe monitoring. Entrants must be allowed to observe the monitoring of this atmospheric testing. We'll also talk about the entrance, the attendance as we go on in this particular class. Reason for space ventilation. When there's a need for ventilation, let's say that there is a low amount of oxygen. It means that you need to increase the amount of oxygen, then you introduce artificial ventilation. You introduce ventilating equipment, ventilator, introduce air from outside and take it in to regulate the amount of oxygen that is present. Then maintain toxic gases and vapor. As you are introducing, because as you are introducing the air, you are actually helping to reduce the amount of toxic substance that is there to acceptable levels. Because most times you might not be able to take them to zero. And what are the equipment that are being used for confined space entry? The body harness. The body harness is not just to enter. The body harness also serves as a source of rescue. Most times we use body harness, we just say, okay, but part of the procedure is the body harness. Then we just wear body harness for them. Then when they are going in, they go into the body harness. But there is no tripod or something to rescue them when there's a disaster. Most times we use the body harness to communicate. We will check the body harness. Maybe after 10 minutes, we check the body harness, the person too will check his own back to communicate that, yes, I'm still alive or I'm still good, depending on the height and the depth or the distance of the confined space. But body harness combined with the lanyard, because they have to be attached to the lanyard, and the rescue equipment, the rescue rope, in order to save them. Thank you, retractable lanyard. Thank you, Hakim. Chain block. All these are what will help us to rescue someone in a confined space. The retrieval lines. In case there's an issue, they should be trained emergency response persons. Depending on their height, depending on the depth, depending on the severity and what could occur. Because sometimes we need to face realities. Someone cannot be doing a welding. I want to use another example now. Someone cannot be doing a welding work, a welding operation, maybe just welding a particular pipe, and we go and call Lagos Fire Service, Lagos State Fire Service to come and stay with them because they are doing welding. We'll just have a fire marshal that will stay with the person. So, but there's some kind of artwork, there's some kind of high risk fire operation that can lead to fire that will require us to call their attention, especially maybe when they are servicing all the fire hydrant system. There must be a standby fire hydrant equipment. So confined space, you can't say because maybe a confined space of just maybe a small tank of, let's say, 1 meter or 2 meter, 1 meter, then you now start saying that the rescue people should surround the person. No, that's how you need to do your risk assessment to understand the severity. But as a basis, from the bottom, the minimum requirement, there must be harness, there must be retrieval line, and if they are going to work in a chemical, if the confined space has, maybe the silo has chemical, there must be wearing of the chemical protective equipment, clothing. If the confined space has high level of fumes, yes, and there must be breathing apparatus, depending on the severity. That's why your risk assessment is very, very important. And your JHA. Welding apron, if it's welding activity, respirators, if it's highly toxic. Yeah, we're talking about emergency response team. Thank you for that. Then the gloves, depending on the severity and work that will be done there, and the safety glasses. Now, everybody has a responsibility. And let's start from the safety department. As a department, we should have a process, in fact, a program, a confined space documented process. Apart from the SOP, a program for confined space activities, which could include trainings, awareness, drills, review of processes, a program for confined space activity, which should be incorporated into the system and should be extracted from our overall health and safety management system. Because when you are developing your HS management system, your manual, it should be a conglomerate of your key processes, your high-risk processes, or processes that can affect health and safety in the workplace. And you develop programs for work attire, program for confined space, program for electrical work. If electrical work is a major in your operation, program for welding, program for process operation, all what are high risk. You create programs, and for each program, then you break it down into different processes and different activities. Then you highlight it for the year. That's another training on its own on health and safety management system generally, how to develop and the likes. So there must be formulation and management of confined space program. Then maintain a space inventory. For every confined space that has happened, there must be an inventory. And this is what is used to accumulate this data. That you see that the USA that they had 12.8 million or so entry in a year. It means that different organization has a data entry of every confined space every day, and they compile them together, and they know the data, and they know how many accidents they are having, and they put it at a ratio. Maybe they can now at the end of the day say that for every 10 confined space, there is one accident for every confined space. How did they get across? How did they come across, or how did they get those data? It's very simple. Let's at the end of the year, they had 10 million confined space. And at the end of the year, they had 1 million confined space accidents, injuries. Then they will say 10 million divided by 1 million, that is 10. So they will say that for every 10 confined space, there's one injury. If there were, let's say, 10,000 deaths, they will say for every maybe 1,000 confined space, there's one death. That's how they do all this data. They do this analysis for us to understand how well we need to put into play health and safety practices. So maintain a confined space entry, maintain a list of authorized personnel. Who are those that are the authorized personnel that will authorize a confined space entry to be done? Then maintain copies of space permits. When there's a confined space, there should be copied. There should be copies. And these copies need to be documented. Imagine that we have a process in Nigeria where, for example, let's look at construction industry, where the ministry sorry for my Ghanaians that I keep using Nigeria as an example, or let's say that we have a process in Ghana where we have a procedure where the ministry that is responsible for health and safety will go to all confined space, and they will ask them, they will request for data of number of permits that they did, number of permits for confined space. Everything should be documented. They just need to document, okay, this year we did 100,000 confined space, 10,000 worker tied, 100,000 electrical work. Then from there, from each of them, we have 10 accidents, 10 near misses, and it will be easy for them to accumulate together to know, because this data is what will let us to know the next line of action. This data, sorry, I'm not pausing. Please, Mr. Banon, please help us to keep adding people. People are still joining, please, because it's actually distracting. Because this data are what is required to know the next line of action. And that's what's affecting us, because we don't have data for all these things, and we don't know if we are improving or we are not doing well. Because it's data that will help us to understand the next thing that we need to do, what to improve upon. That is why even in the ISO standard plus 9.1 talks about monitoring, measurement, analysis, and performance evaluation and evaluation. So there is need for that. It's a standard requirement, but we do not do that. So how do you know if we are doing well with your established process? We have policies. In Nigeria, in Ghana, in Nigeria, for example, we have national OSH policy for health and safety. We have the Factories Act. We have all these regulations, but are they monitoring it rightly when it comes to health and safety? Direct the confined space training program to ensure that everyone is trained, especially those that will be affected, whose activity will be affected or can be affected by the activities of confined space. They should be properly trained. They maintain rescue equipment. Rescue equipment must be up to date. Remember what also happened in the Piper Alpha. One of the issues that happened that contributed to the accident was that one of the rescue equipment, which is a pump that you pump water from the sea to anywhere there is fire, they left it for a long time. because they felt that such accident cannot happen. And that led, and when they needed it, it wasn't working. So it means that our rescue equipment must always be maintained. Don't wait till the day that there's a disaster before you start checking if they will work. I watched one video some time ago when a guy, his car was burning. The front side, the engine side was burning, and he brought out fire extinguisher. And when he pressed it to work, when he squeezed it, the fire extinguisher was not responding. There was just a and that was all. There was no, the gas was not, the chemical powder, the DCP, the dry chemical powder, was not in the right pressure, and it was useless when it needed it most. So our rescue equipment, if you are here now and you have rescue equipment for confined space, on Monday, I'm giving you that responsibility. Go and check it. Go and dust it off. Clean it and be sure that whenever you need them, they will be in good condition. Then coordinate contractor activities. When you have contractors working with you in confined space, ensure that you coordinate their activities at every point that they want to carry out confined space. Supervisor responsibility. Before the entrance, we enter the confined space, there must be pre-entry briefing. Just like in process safety, we talk about PSSR, pre-startup safety review. Same thing applies to confined space. There must be pre-entry briefing. Let them understand the process of communication for emergency, if they are feeling dizzy. In fact, at the beginning of the whole thing, their health records would have been ascertained, because confined space requires people that have good health conditions. Conduct a pre-entry briefing and ensure that personnel are evacuated when necessary. They should be there to ensure that when there is need for evacuation, these people are evacuated. And there was this story that I heard about someone in the confined, someone got an entrant, got into the confined space, then went unconscious. Then the attendant that was at the entrance, realized that he was unconscious and ran inside to go and rescue him. Unfortunately, he also got unconscious. At the end of the day, he died. The person that he rushed to go and rescue, the person survived in the hospital. So he was the one who took the death. What are we saying here? Everybody has a responsibility. You though ideally, the person who is an attendant should also be trained, but you can't rescue alone. And you can't have two or three attendants. You can't rescue alone. Because what if you go inside and you also because you don't know that particular thing that has made him unconscious. Maybe there was a sudden release of gas. That is why there must be a process to rescue. Don't go inside. So ensure that permits are complete and removed when work is finished. You see the work of permit. This issue of permit is a complete discussion on its own, because so many are guilty of document. They believe that permit is just a document, that these safety people just document, and because of that, they don't follow the process. They believe that we just want them to just put their name there and sign. And sometimes, do you know what they do? I've witnessed so many. Many will not fill the permit. Many will not fill the permit when it's supposed to. Then when they are finished the work, they now bring all the permit together and start filling it once. I've seen it during audit. I've seen that happen during audit. And they wonder that they will be like, how did this guy know? Why won't we know? Because it will be because their point that will make us understand that, okay, this one is someone that sat down in the office to sign all the permits. Because let's say, for example, there is a permit in, let's say, 10 locations, and each location has a safety officer. So tell me how one person will now sign in all the permits. Why? Because the person in each location is supposed to be at that location to look at the work condition before signing the permit. The other safety officer is supposed to be at that location to look at, yes, thank you very much, Papa Alpha, there was a permit issue too, and sign the permit. So tell me why during all this, I will not see one person signing the whole permit for a particular day, and you think that I will not raise an eyebrow. They don't understand that permit should be a reflection of what is happening, of what has been done, and not the other way around. Not what has been done to be a reflection of the permit, but the permit should be a reflection of what has been done, or what should be done. So ensure that permits are complete, not only complete, they have been done rightly, and remove when work has finished. Then ensure that all necessary equipment is returned to its proper location. Every equipment after use is cleaned in good condition and returned to their location. Then oversee all necessary confined space activity. Yes, permit to work is part of the safe system of work. You are very correct. SSOW. Oversee all necessary confined space activities as a supervisor. Then let's go to the next person, the attendant. He must be there during the briefing, know the hazard. Him or she, as the case may be, or him or her, or he or she, as the case may be, more together with the entrant, they must be aware of the hazard. They must do the gas testing together, ensure that the PPE are in good condition, be in the pre-entry briefing, know the hazard in the work in the space, then control access to the space. There will have been a defined process in a permit to work. Maybe you say that, okay, based on what you have identified in the risk, every 20 minutes, you will come out, the other person will go in. Every 20 minutes, you will come out. Then after 20 minutes, the other person will come out, the other person will go in. And they continue that cycle. They continue that cycle till they finish the work. That can be a process. And they must ensure that they follow the process in the permit to work. Control access to the space, maintain communication with the entrant to ensure that he's communicating, whether they are using walkie-talkie or they are using rope or they are using voice. Are you there? Are you in good condition? Yes, I'm fine. And when there is an issue, you should call the attention of the rescue guys. You should not enter the space to rescue. People have died from this. There's someone emergency services and assist rescue effort from outside the space. Outside the space, may remain at the site while inside. You shouldn't say that you want to go there and go and you wants to go and see somebody. Meanwhile, people are in the confined space. Meanwhile, people are in the confined space. No, that is not done. Order a space evacuation when conditions warrant such an action. Maintain an accurate count of the number of entrants. Who are those that are in the confined space? Don't be shocked. You can have 5, 10 people in confined space, depending on the size. I've seen silos that are God of mercy. I remember when I was working at Dangote Cement then. All these cement silos, raw meat silo, very huge. So, and they can be doing maintenance work and they can have as much as, let's say, 10, 15% inside the confined space. So in that kind of activity is high risk. So emergency rescue must be present. Let's stay muted. Please, let's stay muted. Please, let's take off our cameras. We don't want our face to be the one on YouTube, because when you shoot in your video, it is your face that will be on YouTube instead of the slides. I've observed that sometimes. So maintain an accurate count of the number of entrants. Then attend the pre-entry briefing. Attend the pre-entry briefing. That is the entrant responsibilities. The entrants, those that will be entering the space. The technicians that want to go and do the work, those that want to enter maybe for cleaning or whatever they want to go to do. Attend the pre-entry briefing, know the hazard of the space, use the PPE rightly, and exit the space if there's an alarm. Meaning that If there is another alarm, maybe fire alarm in the facility, they must exit the place and respond to the fire because and respond to the emergency because they don't know the kind of emergency that is happening. So you should be saying that I'm in the confined space now. I'm inside the confined space. I can't come out. Yo, he must respond to that emergency. Then, if he is not getting any communication from the person that is the attendant, if he's not getting communication, he should leave. And unknown exposures are encountered when there is a sudden unknown exposure. Maybe there's a sudden release. Maybe they are working in a tunnel, or they are working in a big pipeline. I don't know how big it can be. Or they are working in a tunnel and there's a sudden release of a particular gas or something hazardous has happened. They should leave immediately. Then when they have been ordered to leave, the authorized person familiarize themselves with the characteristics of the space. Verify that all the person that is authorizing the job to be done, maybe the engineer, the project engineer, whoever is authorizing the job to be done, familiarize themselves with characteristics of the space, verify that all hazards and sources of energy have been controlled in the space. Verify that all hazards and sources of energy has been controlled in the space. Has been controlled to ensure that they've applied control measures and the many residual risk or residual hazard there is the proper control in place to ensure that it doesn't have an effect on the workers, whether short term or long term. Ensure that the confined space permit is posted so that anybody that is around there will know the kind of work that is going on. Then revoke any permit for non-compliance with permit to work requirement. They also have the right to revoke when the procedures are not followed. They have that right to do that. Then let's look at the rescuer. Those are there to rescue. They must be competent to carry out the rescue. That's very important. They must be competent and they must understand the hazards. They must know those that are there, the list of those that are in the confined space, and they must be certified in emergency first aid and CPR. Poor supervision of lack of supervision, okay, what is missing for a confined entry should start without completing permit procedure. Okay, this is a comment. Thank you. Be certified in emergency first aid and CPR. They must know how to carry out CPR because let's say someone is unconscious and they rescue the person, there must be, apart from rescuing the person and bringing the person out, you should be able to carry out CPR and first aid, depending on what has happened. It should be part of their training. Understand appropriate entry procedures. Understand how to enter. Then, know how to use rescue equipment. What's the essence? If you're a rescuer, but you don't know how to use the equipment, is it not useless? So the person must know how to use the rescue equipment and practice confined space rescue at least annually, meaning that in their program of event, for confined space, there should be a drill at least once in a year for confined space rescue. Like we said, you need to factor the level of risk. So there are some jobs, maybe your job is actually confined space work most of the time. Definitely, you need to prioritize it as part of your activities for the year. Permits are written authorization and approved specifying the location and type of work. Most of us know what permit is. From the word permit to work, it's the one that permits them to work. After all hazard has been identified, they've put control measures in place, and they are sure that they are implementing the process that have been established for the work to be done. They've done 2 bus talk, and everything is in place. There's an active person to monitor as supervisor, and the process is being followed. Ensure the safety of each worker, and specify the date and length of time it applies for the permit to work. What are other precautions? The PPE, if there's a need for logger tag out, it should be done. It should be done well, because logger tag out is another issue in confined space. You've seen people that have gotten involved in serious accident due to poor logger tag out procedure, or logger tag out tryout, lototo, log out, tag out, then try out. We'll talk about that maybe some other time if you invite someone to come and speak. And if you think that you can come to speak to us, educate us on any topic, not only about logout, tagout, tryout, but if you given that you have a slide that you can come to enlighten us for an hour like this, we'll be happy to have you. An hour and a half, we'll be happy to have you to enlighten and to educate us. This is a platform for everyone to educate and to learn from. So verify emergency response, verify the emergency response procedure, then remove source of hazardous material outside of confined space. What can lead to hazard? Imagine people walking inside the confined space and a plier or something fell from height and falls inside that confined space. Even the sudden sound, because of the nature of that space, can cause someone that has high BP to go unconscious, or the item that can actually fall on someone. So anything that could be a secondary hazard must be addressed outside the confined space, and there should be proper ventilation at all time for every form of confined space. This is where we are going to end today. We hope this briefing, this is just a summary. Like I said, we won't be talking about rescue. Full training on confined space has those aspects of the rope tying, the rescue, the tripod, the blockchain, and the harness, all those things. But retractable lanyard and the likes. But this is just an overview, the basics of confined space. Thank you so much for your time. We hope we added value. And at this point, if you have any contribution or any comment, please kindly bring it up. I can see some comments here. Someone said, poor supervision or lack of supervision could be what is missing for a confined space entry. As it should start without it should not start without completing permit procedures. Very correct. Must be posted where everyone can see it, and Lototo must be in place. So your permit to work must be processed, must be placed to ensure that people that are there, they see what you have posted. Then it is important to ensure that the emergency response plan is suited for the kind of confined space entry. Correct. That is very, very important, because not all confined spaces are the same. So the kind of emergency response that you will have might be different from another kind of emergency response. Okay, I can see different feedback now. It's important to ensure that you see, okay, I've read that already. Thank you so much for the insightful tips on confined space. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that presentation. Thank you for good delivery. Exclude self-rescue, no entry rescue, entry rescue. I didn't get that. Thank you so much. How do you see it if there is a log of activities requiring permit to work? It's fine. When you have maybe a matrix of all your activities and one that requires permit, because sometimes companies can have in rows and column, on the right side, on the left side where you have the rows, you can have list of permits, watertight, electrical, general, multipurpose, so and so, lifting, permit, blah, blah, blah. And on top, on the column, you have the kind of activities, and it will be like a matrix of, if you are doing this activity, you must use this permit, and this permit. So it's good if you have a log of all activities that requires permit. But instead of saying log, because log, I don't know, log sounds more like what has been done already. But when you say a process or like I use the word a matrix or a table that shows all activities requiring permit, but I get what you mean, and that is also a fantastic one. Then good insight. Thank you so much, Mr. Wali. Thank you. In terms of excavation or tunnel confined space operation, there must be visible signage around the area. Yes, these are the basics. There should be a what's it called? A signage around where you have your excavation or where you have your confined space, so people know that there's a confined space happening here. That's why the person that is the what we call the attendant, the person must be there for the confined space work. The person must be there. He must not leave at any point in time. And that signage too can also help. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, we have two hands raised, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Let me call on Mr. Juwon Adebiyi. Mr. Juwon Adebiyi, please kindly raise your hand.
Thank you so much, Mr. Waliu. Can I be heard? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, just to elaborate on very great presentation, Mr. Walid,
Yes.
Mr. Liu. So just to elaborate on the comment I made about ensuring that we have the correct type of rescue plan in place, because we have what we call the self-rescue.
Sorry, the network took me off. You need to come again. Sorry, I just came back online now.
Okay.
The network took me off.
Okay, so I said thank you so much for the session. It's a great one. And just to elaborate a bit more on my comment on ensuring that the right kind of rescue plan is in place. You know, I did mention also after I sent a message that we have the self-rescue, the no entry rescue, and the entry rescue and response plans. Right. So for the self-rescue, you know, it's possible that the point of entry is vertical in nature, such that once the person enters from the top to the bottom, the person doesn't need to move maybe horizontally. So it's, and maybe there's a ladder in place with which the person can self-rescue, right? And the other type is the no entry rescue, whereby the person needs to be rescued from outside. That means nobody will enter the space to rescue the person, because when you need to enter the space, there are certain things you also need to put into place. So for the entry rescue, that is where whoever it is that will be rescuing, whoever it is that needs exactly would need to be kitted, right? Because sometimes we've seen cases whereby people go into the confined space to rescue people without being kitted for that confined space, maybe not having the breathing apparatus and the likes. They may have other things, but not having the right breathing protection, and they end up, you know, losing their life. So that's just what I wanted to share.
All right, that's very wonderful. So we have three types, like he rightly said: self-rescue. Maybe there is the means that you use to enter the space in the first place through a ladder, through a step, whatever. You see some silo, they have inner stairs that you can, staircase, I would like call it, staircase that you can use to enter. So there can be a self-rescue there. Then the second one is no entry. Yes, that is when it will, like he rightly explained, for the no entry, when the person will be rescued from outside, when there will be no means of entry, maybe depending on the level of accident or what has happened. The person will be rescued with the tripod or whatever means that have been designed for the emergency response team. And the last one is the entry. That is when it will require some rescue team. And depending on the risk that you've identified, they might need, like someone mentioned, the SCBA. SCBA is a self-contained breathing apparatus for them to enter into the space in order to save the person. So thank you for that wonderful input. I really appreciate it. Very, very concise, detailed, and straight to the point. I appreciate that. I saw Mr. Engineer Dansaki. Please, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
Okay, I'm with you, sir.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. I'm just of the opinion to just include this, as you have rightly said. Confined space are areas work operation that has limited entry and exit. Like we that work in manufacturing environment, if we all have this mindset that confined space is a space that have limited entry and exit. For instance, if you have a rack in your factory, for example, because I just joined a new firm now, and then while accessing the rack where we palletize products, I observe that people go there to clean the rack, and then since the place has low lightning and has limited entry and exit. I quickly speak to the management to implement work permit for anyone going inside the rack to do cleaning or to perform any shuttle operation. So we can always think beyond entering of silos, tanks, cleaning of tanks, site work. So if you also have a rack in your factory, you can also implement work permits so that all safety measures from goods falling from height to the person in the rack, all control measures will be implemented before entering the rack for any activity. That's just my own observation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your input. We sincerely appreciate that. And we have learned from you, we have learned from everyone. Fantastic presentation. Looking forward to the next insightful and off-skill training in EHS. Like we said, if you have any topic that you want to educate us on, you have something that you want to learn, want to allow us to learn from you from, definitely you are welcome. And we have various fields that we are interested in. Let me give us a list. Occupational health and safety topics are there that you can pick from. You have fire safety topics that you can pick from. You have process safety topics that you can pick from. ASOP, hazard, FMEA, that's failure mode and effect analysis. So many process safety topics that you can train us on, that you can enlighten us on. Marine safety is there. Mental health and safety is there. ESG is there. Aviation safety is there. Abanom should come and talk to us about aviation safety. Okay, Abanom now moving from one aviation to another, shopping all the aviation money alone. So we are expecting Mr. Abanom, you are here, you can hear me loud and clear, to come and give us a topic, a very important, a very crucial topic. Let us also learn about what is happening when it comes to safety in the aviation sector. Then ESG too, then construction safety, so many topics to talk about in all these industries. Power industry safety. Akim has, in a couple of times, come to educate us on so many topics regarding power safety. The food safety is also there. Radiation safety is there. You can see that there are many things to talk about. So if we all want to collectively learn, let us all come together. You can chat me up. And in fact, every week we'll be busy learning one thing or the other. Or once in every 2 weeks. Radiation safety is there. Road safety is there. Environmental safety is there. Product safety is there. Public safety is there. Cyber safety is there. Marine safety is there. Mining safety, the mining industry is there. First aid too is there. So we have so many things that we can learn from ourselves. So please, if you feel like you have topic, and it's not an avenue because these things are recorded and they are posted online. I remember then when I used to go for job interviews. When I go for job interviews and this HR, they will do findings about who you are. And then I was already making all these videos, and when they just type Wala, they go, okay, it takes them to my YouTube page and they see my videos. It speaks for me. There are some jobs, there are some little jobs that I've gotten to do training because of these videos that I've done. So what am I saying? I'm selling the same thing to you. Whether I want to be a consultant or not, or whether you want to be a trainer or not, even in employment, when they do find this about who you are, these videos will come up on Google. So when you have these videos and it's on YouTube, we post it on LinkedIn, we post it on all social media handles. When they do search about you, all these things will speak for you. Everything's not about certificate. All these practical things that you do will also speak for you. So I'm imploring everyone, start me up. Mr. Wali, I want to speak about this particular topic. Okay, send me the slide, we'll look at it together. Then we speak a date and you present wonderfully. We have people that are ready to listen. This is a global community. This is a community for everyone. So please let us take this advantage. We have built this platform already, not just for us, it's for you. It's for everyone. We can all learn together. We are young professionals, and I love that fact. I'm sorry for the older ones that are with us. I love mentioning young professionals every time. Yes, because we need to build ourselves in order to get to that level that we want to be. So please, if you have any topic that you think we can discuss together, chat me up, let me know. We'll schedule it together. We'll create the flyer, everything for free. Everything for free. Someone was telling me some days ago that he chatted somebody up to for the person to come and discuss about the particular topic, and the person was charging him, was $100 that if they are up to 100, that is something like this, something that like what I just did now. Instead, if they are up to 100, that is going to charge them $50, but if they're less than 100, it will charge them $100. Just imagine, and this is what we have done for free. So if we schedule, in fact, we can even schedule a very long topic, a very long course, maybe an ESG course. Look at the course outline, then break it down, then look for we that can talk about it only 1 hour every 2 weeks. Before we know it, we are knowing so many things about safety. Safety is very wide. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about growing our competency level. Everyone should be carried along. No one should be left behind. As far as we've been here together consistently, we have people that have been with us for the past 4 years. These are 76 webinar. You know what that means? To have done 76 webinar, and all 76, and we've done more, because some of them we didn't record it on YouTube. So we only used the one that we had on YouTube to give to know the amount that we have done so far. There are some that are not on YouTube that we did. So let's say that these are 76 webinar. We have done 76 presentations, invited professionals across Africa, mainly Nigeria, and some from other parts of Africa, to come and discuss with us, for us to learn together. So please let us take this advantage, let us utilize it, and let us grow together as a team. Mr. Rio, I can't share the slides. So apart from this, as an organization, we are into various training, and we have some good news for you. We are working on our LMS, Learning Management System. We call it Telcosh Academy. It's a learning platform, just like you have this OSHA Academy, just like you have, what's it called? You have Coursera, you have Udemy. So we are creating this learning platform, but this is different. Why is it different? Is that instead of just having material that you just read, just scroll through, just slides, we have video training, just like this training. We have video trainings, detailed trainings on this website that we have developed for every professional to pick. You choose a course. We are doing it one at a time. We are uploading the courses one at a time. But by the time we launch it, I think we should have gotten like 5 courses, very detailed courses. For those that have attended our pre-recorded training sections on accident investigation, DHA, safety data analysis, they will tell you the content of our trainings and how detailed they are. So we are working on that LMS, and I'm very sure it's going to be of great value to every professional out there. Apart from that, we are into all these trainings. We have many of these trainings as pre-recorded. So once you meet up with us, once you make the required payment, we'll send you the link to download the course video. This is not just material. The videos, explanation of the course, what it only takes from you is your data. And we just, I don't know the amount in Ghana, but with just 500 Naira, you can buy 1 gig in a day, and you download all the videos, and you will learn about content. This is not just about abstract, this is detailed understanding. So we have all these courses, and if you also want us to come and train your organization, your team, you can also invite us. All these topics, among others, they are available on request. Also, we are into management trainings. For those that know me personally, they know I launched a book on mental well-being in the workplace, so it's part of my strength. So we train on management of mental well-being. We have done presentations on this. Some days ago was a World Mental Health Day. Seminars, webinars, you can invite us concerning issues of mental health, and we will always respond to you. Active listening, management courses, mention them. We do all these courses. We are also into ISO courses too. We are also into ISO courses, ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, lead auditor courses, internal auditor awareness, whatever it is. And we are into ISO certification for organizations. So always put us in mind, keep in touch with us. We are always ready to add value to you. If you have any issue, okay, can I take energy-based greenhouse gas emission calculation? Please, Engineer Dansaki, chat me up immediately. Yes, we will be happy to have you. We can schedule the next 2 weeks, the upper week for this. We are ready to have you. Please, you can chat me up for us to discuss about this. We want to learn. There are so many aspects. That's why we change it from safety moment with Aliola. We change it to enlightenment session with Wadiola. So it's no more just safety. It's about enlightenment across board. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening to me. Even with all my jargon that I'm saying, I still have 47 people, let's say 46 people within, apart from myself, who are all listening to my jargon. And I believe that maybe my jargon is making sense. I can see so many of us. I can see Mr. Rotimi Ewedemi. Thank you for joining us. I can see Mrs. Oluwashin Osinbanjo, Mr. Oluwash. I can see Hakim. Thank you so much. Abanom, you're with us. Tommy Selepiri. Sorry, which country is this? Which country is Tommy Dawari Boko? Sorry if I have murdered your name. I'm very sorry. Which country? Let us know your country where you're coming from. Obaigeli Imbalitem. Which country is that? Mrs. Nofisa, thank you. We have so many of us, Mr. Adefela, Mr. Afua from Ghana, Agatha, Mrs. Akigbe Joy, thank you, Ma, for coming. Our chief chief CFO. I won't say what that F means, of Mr. Cletus Sahibe. Yes, the wife is here. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us. Mr. Aninuri Abdubasi, thank you, everyone. I can see so many of us, Mr. Diamond, Mr. James, Mrs. Jessita, Mr. Juwon, everyone, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Salam. Thank you, Mr. Kendi Bopola, all of us, we appreciate you. Thank you all for your time. And hopefully, let's say in a couple of weeks again, we'll have everybody here again. Engineer Christopher Inyang, thank you so much. Mr. Adefala said, we look into fire together. Thank you, sir. I'll be expecting that. Please, Mr. Engineer Dansaki and Mr. Adefela, please let us discuss about this and let us plan for the next presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. Abraham. God bless you and reward you greatly for your good work in raising your professionals. I'm also a young professional, I beg. because the way you say young professional, it's like you are sidelining me. I beg. I'm also a young professional. Thank you. So let us unmute and let us greet ourselves. Thank you so much, everyone. We can all unmute now for us to call it a wonderful evening. Let us unmute.
Thank you so much, boss.
Thank you for the session.
Thank you, Walio.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
so
Thank
much.
you,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walio.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you. We appreciate you for your time. It's been a wonderful time together. So, thank you. And
Thank
see you
you.
all
Good
again.
night.
Good night, Ma. Thank you, everyone. And see you all again very soon. Thank you, and God bless you. So we'll count from 10 to 1.
Amen.
Thank you and God bless you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Why is this thing not closing? This one doesn't want